Hello and welcome to another episode of Magicians Only. Are you a magician? I hope so. I hope you're a magician in real life, in your work, in your job, in your relationships. Go for the magic. Magicians Only is sponsored by Magic on the Go at magiconthego.com. Almost 1,000 videos, including this one giant playlist on this idea of suspensions. What is a suspension? A suspension is when you hold something, like it's in gravity. If you hold something, they hold an apple in the air, right? And you let go, it falls. Suspension asks the question, what if it didn't? What if somehow you had the ability to control gravity, to mess with physics, whether it's with water or knives or smoke or any of these items that you can pick up and you can mess with the laws of gravity with those items. It's a great topic. It's one of my favorites because it's the kind of magic trick that transcends language. Pick up a pencil and it suspends from your fingertips. Put your hands onto a knife and it clings, like you can just make yourself magnetic and you can make things cling to your fingers. It's quite powerful. There's even a routine where you take a jar of rice, which weighs about 5 pounds, and you put the tip of a knife in it and it suspends, and you pour the rice out, fill it with smoke, and do it again. It's actually a routine that I do in my show. But I know what you're saying. You're saying, Steve, where could I possibly find a playlist all about the magic effect and theme of suspension? It might be right here on, hit the microphone, on Magic on the Go at magiconthego.com. Just one of almost 1,000 routines that are on there. And it's less than $25 a month. I highly recommend you go check it out. And this is part 2 of A Story Well Told. This is actually coming at a very interesting time for me because I just got back from a crazy 3-week trip. I took my daughter Evie with me and we went on a daddy-daughter trip, which was part trip and a lot of work. We started off by going to Glastonbury Festival. What amazing research that was. I haven't seen the organization at Glastonbury Festival. Let me tell you, when we think about, I'm trying to organize an act for 45 minutes, what these people do at Glastonbury Festival, a lot of people believe it's just about the musical acts, but it's not. There's all this other stuff that's going on, these arts and variety. There's a whole theater and circus camp where there's all different kinds of circus and theater happening throughout the day, almost like 24/7. It's amazing. The sheer organization, and I mean it, the organization is mind-blowing. I think there's over 120 different stages at Glastonbury. That's 120 different places where stuff is happening, not just music. There's variety and street performers and magic and juggling and fire eating. There was a guy we saw who went in the center of a hoop that was completely on fire and rolled around the stage. I saw the Wookiee Hole Circus. These young kids who are learning circus from the Cottle family Wookiee Circus, and they were doing an amazing job. They looked like a bit like the St. Trinian's schoolgirls doing circus and then also doing magic, which of course, guess what? It was literally magic, and then they're up on silks and they're swinging on ropes. It literally was magic on the go. It was nuts. We saw so much great stuff. And yes, we lived in tents. Now, listen, I don't tent, okay? I don't tent. But if you're with the artists, and I have friends who were performing at Glastonbury, and you're staying in the tents in the artist section, it's just a little bit better. You get better toilets. You get these compost toilets, which are still kind of, like porta potties, but you pour compost on it and they don't really stink. That's considered high living. You also have these portable showers, but you know what? You get kind of used to it. The problem for me was just getting down on the ground and getting back up again. That was a bit tough. The other thing that's marvelous about Glastonbury is there's hardly any mosquitoes. If this was going to happen in any other country, like we were just in Italy and that we got eaten alive, there's food, there's entertainment. It's not going to be on next year. Highly recommend if you get a chance when it comes back the following year. You've got to check it out. I don't like big crowds, but my kid wanted to go see, she's 13, she wanted to see Olivia Rodrigo, she wanted to see Gracie Abrams, I wanted to see Rod Stewart. And Ray and Lola Young and the Scissor Sisters. Anyway, I don't know why I'm telling you about this on Magicians Only. There is a reason. Oh yeah, so that was the beginning of the trip. So for me, having seen what can be done with a finely oiled machine and good organization and definite delegation, it got me thinking, what's FISM going to be like? Because I just got back. Oh, right. So I got back from FISM, but before I say that, right after we did Glastonbury, I then did a quick little magic show and lecture tour because I was there in England. So I did some magic shows at Crowd Keepers in Bath, which was really fun, except we were doing the show at 31-degree heat. And, England, right? There's no air conditioners. They're just kind of getting the idea of an air conditioner now that the temperatures are changing. So I did a couple of shows in 31-degree heat. And a couple of things can happen, right, when you're doing a show in that kind of heat. One is you want to pass out. Two is your hands are sweating, and it's really hard to do sleight of hand. Cards are getting wet and soggy. They're curling up. They're difficult to handle. Tricks with coins are next to impossible. I mean, it's not easy. But what was really funny about it was so hot in the room that I was spraying myself with a water bottle, a spray to keep myself kind of cool. And then I asked the audience if they wanted me to spray them. And they did. So it became a bit where I was running around just spraying the crowd with water. I wish I could keep that in my act, but I can't. But I will do it again if we get up to 31-degree heat. That was nuts. And then I went to my hometown of Southend-on-Sea, and I did a lecture. I gave a talk to the Southend Sorcerer Society. Now, my one-man show is all about the Southend Sorcerer Society and what it meant to me as a kid and how it really helped me with my magic education and kind of the support it gave me as a young man. And I think magic clubs are important for that. And so it was great to go back after 30 or more years, to go back to Southend to lecture for the very people that kind of brought me up in the world of magic. And it was absolutely beautiful. So many people are still around from when I was a kid. Don Simpson used to be known as Clown Supertramp. He's still there. I remember he was one of the working pros. Rick Graham. Richard Graham is a magician in Southend. And when I was little, I was part of this theatre company, right? And he was a magician, and we were doing this variety show, and he would do this beautiful dove act. But we're in rehearsals, and I would bug him every day in rehearsal to show me the same bloody card trick over and over again, because I just couldn't figure it out. And he was there, and he remembered, and it was great. And we all caught up, and the lecture went great, and that was fun. And then we jumped right back on a train. We went back to London. The following day, I did a lecture at the world famous Magic Circle. There is an episode of Magicians Only where I read an old article about visiting the Magic Circle in like the 50s, and you should go back and listen to that episode, the Will Dexter episode, because it will really give you an idea of what it's like to go to the Magic Circle. But it was great to go there. It was an honor to perform and to lecture on the stage in the theater, to be introduced by Marvin Berglas, the president, to see Gay Blackstone win an award, to visit to meet and chat with all the great magicians that are there, and also to go down to the museum and see some of the original props used by the magicians who invented those original tricks. Have you ever seen the trick where the birdcage disappears? Invented by a guy called Takolta. They've got his cage down there. It's a bit rusty, but it's his cage. And when you look at it and you think how it started this whole movement of magicians making cages vanish, it's just kind of gorgeous. So it was amazing to go to the Magic Circle. We were staying with my friend Laura London, another lovely magician, and Billy Kidd. We were having the best time. And then we went to Northampton, and we did it for the Northampton Magic Club. We were able to squeeze in one more lecture for them. They made us feel so welcome. Thanks to everyone. Thanks, David Penn, for organizing that and for the kind words about this. And then we visited family, which was really lovely because I haven't seen a lot of my family for a while. And then we jumped on a plane and we went to Italy. Now, here's the thing. There was this thing happening this year called FISM Italy 2025. FISM is like the Olympics of magic, if you don't know about it. Basically, people put acts together, brand new acts together. They compete to get into FISM, and then the winners of all the various heats will go to FISM Italy at the end, and they will compete for the grand prizes. Not only that, I was asked to go perform my show and lecture. Wasn't competing. I'm too old to compete. I just can't take the stress. But I did go do my one-man show, Life and Other Deceptions. I gave a workshop. We did a workshop, which was a 3-hour workshop on certain magic tricks, which was fantastic. And then also my mate Chris Philpott and I, we did a lecture on acting for magicians. And I'll talk about this in another episode because I think it's important to bring up this idea of using the techniques of an actor to help you as a magician. And I also think, by the way, I also think you can use the techniques of a magician to help you as an actor. But that's another story. This idea of using the techniques of an actor to help you with your magic shows, not a new idea, but Chris Philpott and I, we have an interesting approach. And so what the talk taught us was that magicians and people out there really want to learn the techniques. So we will be doing a 3-day intensive in a city to be announced. It's going to be hands-on, in person, and it's going to be great. We're going to really dive into the techniques of acting and of how to apply that to your magic, whether you're a professional or whether you're an amateur who just likes to do shows occasionally. FISM had so many acts competing. It was mind-blowing. So much original magic. One guy had a card that moved across a table like a caterpillar. Somebody else, actually one of the guys who won the Grand Prix, the chap who won the Grand Prix, made playing cards vanish in mid-air in a puff of smoke. You should have seen it. It looked like real magic. There's a mentalism duo called Mind to Mind who just blew me away with their act, and it was beautiful and impressive. I mean, there was just too much to mention. It was great to hang out with all my magic buddies. The one thing that I would say was a consistent theme throughout the entire convention was story. It seems to me that magicians nowadays are really seeing the power of story. Awesome segue, I know. Which brings us to part 2 of A Story Well Told. Marsha and I, in the previous episode, were talking about how to take story techniques and apply them to the routines that you do. And then we were about to apply those techniques to a routine that I do when I was like, that's the end of the episode. Well, now we're back. We're going to pick it up where we left off. So, story is very important. What's more important is to learn how to do story well. Let's find out with Marsha on today's episode of Magicians Only.
What did it look like? How did you feel? Just give us that.
Like, how did it feel? All right, so here's an example. Let's take a basic patter from an old trick. So there's a trick on Magic on the Go called No Egg, No Bag, right?
No Egg, No Bag.
And the way the patter goes, that comes with the trick. Guy came up to me before the show. And said, can I show you a trick? And I was like, all right, if you have to. And he said, all right, look, he said, snap my fingers. I got an empty bag, snap my fingers, reach in, pulled out an egg. He put it in his pocket, gave it a slap, and the egg was gone. I was like, oh. I said, that's okay. Do it again. I wasn't paying attention. He goes, all right. Snaps his fingers, reached in the empty bag, pulled out another egg, put it in his pocket, gave it a slap. The egg was gone. He said, what do you think about that? I said, do it one more time. He said, all right, fine. I'll pull another egg out of the bag, put it in the pocket. And I said, it's all right. I said, do you take it out and put it in your pocket? Do you palm it back in? And he said, no, it's over here. It's in the pocket the whole time. And I said, it's very confusing. I said, you know what? I said, he goes, how you have to tell me how it's done. He goes, all right, so what it is, he says, before the show starts, I take an egg out of my pocket and I put it in the bag. I take another egg out of my pocket and I put it in the bag. I take another 2 eggs out of my pocket and I put them in the bag, and I space them out so they don't get broken. I said, but how can the bag be shown empty? He goes, oh, that's the $1 million question. Look, and he opens up the bag and it's empty. The eggs are gone, the bag's gone. He said, it'd be so much better if there were no eggs and no bag. And he rips the bag apart, the eggs have gone, and that's basically the end of the trick. So the whole premise...
So you're doing that, are you doing it as you're telling that story?
I'm kind of paraphrasing it right now, but the whole premise essentially is, guy shows me a trick, couldn't figure out, shows me how it's done, doesn't make sense, there's a little twist at the end. Yeah. But essentially it's some guy coming up to you, telling you how to do a trick, and you're repeating the trick in the process. So
here's what I want you to add in there is some stakes.
Okay.
Guy walks up to me, he says, can I show you a trick?
Right.
Okay, if you're a magician, someone's walking up to you and saying, I know I used to work with a lot of stand-up comedians.
Yes.
And they'll be like, oh, I've got a joke. You know,
Which
and you're
everybody wants to hear.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you're a magician, somebody walks up and they're like, when you are an expert about something, because you're about to go on stage and some rando walks up,
Yeah.
the expectation is this is going to be shit. And
Yes.
so how do you feel about it? If you were at a show and somebody walked up to you and went, oh, I've got a trick, how would you feel? You're about to go on stage, you're a bit nervous, you're thinking about your show.
Well, I'd be kind of pissed off. I'd be like, I'm about to go on. I'm like, you're distracting me. I seriously?
So give us some of that in half light. Be like, I'm standing, but also give us some of the stakes even of him interrupting. I'm standing here ready to do the show. I love being here on stage. I love talking to you. But, I get a little bit of adrenaline. I've got to get in the zone. So I'm getting myself in the zone. And this guy comes up and goes, oh, excuse me, Steve, excuse me. I've got a trick for, and ham him up. I've got a trick for you. And I think, oh my God, this is all I need. But also, he's a member of the audience. If I'm rude to him, he might tell everyone else. And then you're all going to be sitting here staring at me thinking I'm a terrible person. So I go on, show me. So then we've got some stakes here, which is like, this is annoying. I want you to hurry up and finish. I'm going to have a bad experience here. And so already we're like, oh, what's going to happen? Is he going to annoy him? Is this going to be terrible? And then someone in the audience goes, oh, I bet it turns out he's really good. And then he's really good. So that's a kind of pattern arrest because we're expecting him to be shit, but then he's good. And those people in the audience were like, oh, I knew it. I said it, didn't I? I said it, Sandra. I said he was going to be good and he was. That's what I said. And they feel so good. Like that's one of the biggest gifts you can give your audience is make them feel smart. And the way to do that in storytelling is to let them
anticipate what's coming and give it to them.
Leave some breadcrumbs they don't know are breadcrumbs. It's like when you're watching Who Done It and you're like, it was the butler.
I knew that was a clue. Yes, yeah.
So, but it also shows us the stakes of him doing it. It shows us like, if you're just like, a man walked up to me and said a thing, it's like, okay, but if you're like, I'm trying to get myself in the zone, I don't want to be talked to, and someone comes up and interrupts me, and then says something that I don't want them to say, but now I have to stand here. There's tension there as well,
yeah, because there's also this thing about, because I happen to know there's no way I can win, because if it's really, really good and I don't know how it's done, he's going to be like, I got the professional magician.
Yeah.
And if it's really sucks, I can't say that sucks because that will make me rude.
So you can say
I
that
know
too.
that I'm instantly in like, now I'm
say
in,
that too,
how am
right?
I going to do?
Because now there's tension.
Yeah.
And now we're like, what's going to happen and how's Steve going to
Maybe I could even
with
start off by, I'm on this, do you know what? I walk on stage and go, do you know what? 2 minutes ago, I'm just back here. Before we start, I just got to tell you.
Yeah,
because now that's just happened.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes.
What just happened to me? There's one of the stagehands. I'm going to tell him the story. Relax.
Yeah.
One of the stagehands back here. So I'm getting ready. I'm getting in the zone, and this stagehand, who should know better, comes up and John interrupts me, and he's like, "I've got a trick I learned when I was a kid. Can I show you?" And I'm like, "That's what I live for. People who aren't magicians showing me bloody magic tricks before I come on stage."
How much comedy have we got out of? None of that was in your story before.
Yeah.
And we've already got several laughs out of this, and also
this interesting way into it that breaks expectations.
Total pattern arrest. If you can walk, you always. I mean, I'm sure. Again, you talk about this. You want to walk out on stage and do a pattern arrest because everyone's like, "Oh, here comes the magician. They're going to come out. They're going to do some stuff with rings. They're going to do some stuff with string. Seen it before." And you come out and you do something different, and people are like, "Bah, bah, bah." I mean, that's why the storytelling works so well. That's what when Scott's doing shows. Scott Hamill who's now name I do know now, has an entire show that's basically storytelling and magic, and he tells these really personal stories about like he had really severe health problems, but he weaves routines in all the way through, or he's doing them as he's telling you the stories, and you're just not expecting it. Or one of the people who was at Magic and Shenanigans, Rachel Wax.
Yeah, Rachel. Yeah.
So Rachel Wax,
she's
from New York.
Very New York.
Very New York. And she gets
prisoners.
introduced, and you're sitting there being like, where is she? And she walks on stage and she looks at the audience and goes, sorry, I'm late. I was shitting. Like, what a fucking pattern arrest. Like, magicians are supposed to be nice.
Yes.
But it's so good. And then she's
Rachel.
funny. She's like, she's not
hilarious.
a stand-up, but she's one of the best stand-ups I've ever seen. And that in itself is a pattern arrest. So anything you can walk out and have a pattern arrest. And just coming out and telling a story is going to be a pattern arrest.
Yeah.
Because people are expecting you to come out and say, welcome to Marsha's Magical Magic Show.
So I kind of like this idea of coming out and going like, before we start, because there's a guy, Bill Malone, who's a wonderful magician, and Bill often will do this thing where he says, before I start the show, I have an announcement to make. Is there a guy? And now people are paying attention for a different something.
Yes.
And I think that was such a brilliant idea. So you come out and you go, before I start, I have to tell you about something that happened just now. No, I'm going to tell them.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm telling them, cheeky bastard. And now you're like, who?
And it's such a bait and switch. There's a brilliant storyteller called Gillian Welsh who has a story that she told, which I'm not going to spoil the story, but I'm going to link to. I'm making a secret webpage, which is going to be yesyesmarsha.com.
Just for you guys.
Just for you, /magicians only. And I'm going to link to this because she told this story on a podcast called Risk. And I think she also told it on This American Life. And when she did it, she did that where she came on, she was like, oh, I just had this conversation with the host where he said this, and we both used to live in New York. And she basically left this breadcrumb. And then she goes in to tell our story, and we're just fully in her story. And there is a reveal during the story. And one of the first times I saw her tell it on stage was at this place called the Great Hall in Toronto. There's 400 people in the audience. And the moment when the audience picked up what was happening, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it right now. It was one of my favorite performance moments ever because it was just this ripple that went across 400 people. She just stood and looked she said one thing and then she just looked at the audience and this ripple went across and we were like, oh my God, where's that thing? And we all had that whodunit moment. But if she had said it as part of the story, some people might have been like, oh, I wonder if this will come up to the story later on.
Sure.
But because she did it as a like, oh, I've just had this conversation backstage, all of us, what you say, as soon as you say, I've just had this conversation backstage, our brains are like, oh, I don't need to file this into show. I'm filing this into like fun aside.
Yes.
I'm filing this into like the stand-up is warming up the room at the beginning of the set. And so this is not important.
So
but then when it comes back, it kind of bops us in the,
and it's a way of breaking down that fourth wall that we always have when we walk out.
And it's a way of creating familiarity, because if you're my friend, I walk into the room and go, Steve, you are not going to believe I've got to tell you what just happened to me. This is wild.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm doing a show, I'm Marsha the magical magician. In my dreams, I wish I could do magic. But there's a separation.
They've got magic on the go. You should check it out.
I know.
Teach you how to do it.
To get there. But I'm the magician and you're the audience, and I'm the god and you're the idiot plebs.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm coming out and being like, I've got to tell you what just happened, it's like we're all friends here. My old sales coach, Kendrick Shope, who's from the deep South, used to say, all things being equal, friends buy from friends. All things being unequal, friends buy from friends. And what she means by that is you're much more likely to buy something from someone that you know than you are from a stranger. And she talked about it in the context of sales, how it's all about building relationships and following up multiple times. I talk about it in the context of storytelling, that storytelling is one of the ways to make people feel like they're your friends when it's one-to-many.
Right.
And I'm not talking about selling your merch after the show. I'm talking about people buying into the magic show. I'm talking about people buying into you as a magician who is able to do these magical things. People buying into paying attention for the rest of the show. So if you can make them feel like a friend straight off the bat, they are going to do that. And one way to do it is to walk out and be like, I got to tell you what just happened. And another way is to tell stories, because when you tell stories, my brain thinks the same things happen to me as it happened to you. I also have this kind of understanding of who you are. When you tell me this story about like I'm standing there and this guy comes up to me and I think, oh God, this is all I need, but I also have to be nice to him, then I know A, you have enough arrogance to be like, I'm probably so much better than you, idiot. But B, you're a good enough person that you're not like, fuck you, get out of my face.
Yeah, and then so, C, when finally I see it and I'm like, that's actually pretty good. How'd you do that?
There's humility.
There's humility.
And so I've just learned so much about who you are as a person, and I feel so much more like you're my friend. As a side note, another thing that I always tell people is, because friends buy from friends, one of the ways, we learned this when I was a radio DJ, one of the ways to make people feel like they're your friend is if they know your name. So always find an excuse to insert your name into stories. So whenever I have a story, if somebody says something to me, I'll always have them say, and then they said, Marsha, how are we going to do that? In the same way as when I was on the radio, people would text in for a record and they would just be like, I want to hear the new, whatever, Foo Fighters single. Yeah. But I would have, Steve from Wickham has said, Marsha, have you got the new Foo Fighters single?
That's I'm inserting because we're always told to repeat the person's name, other people's names, as a way of breaking, that's, classic Carnegie, right?
Yeah.
But no one ever talks about this idea of always kind of like bigging yourself up, making sure that everyone knows who you are.
But
it's very
storytelling
true.
is a very subtle way to do it, because it's not me that's saying my name, it's Steve in the story is saying my name.
So here's an example of another story, kind of a similar, because I've been working on this particular egg trick and I have different presentations of it. And so there's a version of it where I talk about how many magic virgins do we have in the audience? Okay, it's okay. Don't be shy. So we all, we never forget our first. How many? Right. Okay. I'm your first. It sucks to be you. All right. So I'm the first magician you'll ever see. My first, I was 11 years old, and it was a magician called the Great Wankini, and he came to perform at our school. He was a prison clown. He would get out on furlough and entertain. It was a different time. They would bring him in. Anyway, he would always do the same tricks, and there was one that used to drive me nuts. He would come on stage. He'd be like, "All right, boys and girls, what's up, wankers? Got a paper bag here." Again, it was a different time. And he would say, "Hey, love, what's your name?" Now I'm talking to the woman in the audience, and wherever she says, "I'll call you Gladys." Like, put your hands in the bag. Anything in there? No. You feel anything? No. There's pills for that. Now watch this. Snap of the fingers, shake of the legs. Something appears in the bag. Fuck me, it's an egg. And now I start doing the egg trick, right? So that happens a few times, and then there's a moment where I'm like, and at the end of it, he just kept pulling these eggs out of the bag for like 20 minutes. And at the end of it, he ripped up the bag and tossed it in. I was like, it has to be something with the bag. And he ripped it up and tossed it into the audience. And I was like, I need to know how this works. So one year, I think it was my final year, puberty's hitting, and I'm not having it. I'm just sitting there in the back, and I'm like, I need to know how this works. So at the end of the show, I sneak past the headmaster. I go into the back area where the changing rooms are. I kick open the door, and there was Wankini living up to his name, being great. He was being great. And I kick open the door, and there's the great Wankini. He's like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "I need to know how the egg trick works." And he goes, "All right, I'll tell you." He goes, "Here's what happens." Now he then goes into a description of taking all these eggs out. At the end, I say, "How can she reach in the bag if the bag is full of eggs at the beginning?" He goes, "That's because there's no eggs, there's an orange." Pulls it out of the bag. And the problem has always been with this routine, the final button. Because at the end of the trick, so essentially what's happened, he's told me that 5 minutes before the show, I take 2 eggs out of my pocket and I put them in the paper bag. And then 2 minutes before I go on, I take 3 eggs out, and I'm pulling these eggs out of my pocket and I put them in the paper bag. And he goes, "And you just keep taking eggs out your pocket until people start clapping."
Yeah.
All right, you look around the audience. And then I was like, "Wait a minute, how can Gladys feel in the bag and not feel anything?" And he said, "Well, there's pills for that. Other than that," he said, "that's because inside there's an orange. I'm not going to tell you how it's done. Get out of here, you little shit." And there's just...
It's too sad.
Well, maybe that's what it is.
Let me ask you a question. The other thing we don't
tag.
have
Yeah.
is set up. We don't have emotional setup before you're watching him. You're telling us an anecdote at the beginning,
Yes,
but what makes it a
yes.
story, it's just occurred to me as it comes out of my mouth, is including that emotion.
Right.
Early doors. So how did you feel about this? Is this story true?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not in any way, shape or form.
Well, let's imagine that it's true.
Here's a true story I just made up.
Think back to 10-year-old Steve.
Right.
Like, how would you have felt before the first time you
I
ever saw
remember
a
watching
magician?
my actual first magicians,
Yeah.
and I think I was a bit of a pain in the ass. I was that obnoxious kid who knew everything worked.
Yeah.
But I also remember just falling in love with magic and wanting to know.
So, what if you're that obnoxious kid? What was an example of you being an obnoxious kid who knew how everything worked, separate from magic?
Other than?
Give me a couple of examples of the kinds of things you might say or do at that age when you're...
Oh, right. I mean, if you're watching Doctor Who, I would say, well, that's a rubber mask.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not real. It's a rubber mask. You can see the edge of the makeup.
Give me another example.
Another example of knowing. I can't really think of it other than magic, because magic was my main.
Before magic, like in what ways were you a smart ass as a kid? It sounds like.
Well, I was just always very cheeky. I just kind of talked back.
Let's do the Doctor Who. We won't say Doctor Who because North American people don't always know it. But you might say, I remember my first, who came into our school. I was 11 years old. I was a smart ass as a kid. I was the kind of kid who'd be watching horror films with my friends, and they're all terrified, and I'm like, that's made of rubber, don't you? That's ketchup, not blood, and just ruining the experience for everyone. Anyway, we hear this magician comes in, and I'm like, well, obviously, it's all a trick. Like, I'm going to know what he does. Right. And then he comes in, and then you give us all the other patter. So you've set up this tension, because we're like, well, is Steve going to know what happened?
Nice.
And then when you don't know how it's done, then we understand why you're like...
And that's driving me crazy.
Now we know why it's driving you crazy, because you've set up that you're a smart ass that always knows how everything's done. So that's why that actually gives some meat to it driving you crazy.
Then at the very end.
And so then hang on, let me think about this. So if it's like it's driving you crazy, and then he pulls out the orange. So again, you've got to imagine that this is a real story. How would you have felt when he said, "Oh, there's not a thing in there"?
He got me. He tricked me. He tricked me again, and then he slammed the door in my face.
But before he slammed the door, how do you feel about the fact that you don't? What's the emotion there?
Right. So the emotion is he
says,
reaches
"I'm
in.
gonna show
The
you how
eggs
to do
have
it."
gone. He reaches inside, pulls out an orange, and I was like,
But just tell me now. How do you
he
feel?
tricked me, but I fucking loved it.
There.
I loved it.
There.
I was like, that was awesome.
But maybe it's
I
not
hate
even
magic
I loved it.
at the
Maybe
beginning.
it's like I loved it, and I was like, I want to do that for other people. And now you've just told us Steve Valentine's. I'm getting a little goosebump. And now you've just told us Steve Valentine's origin story.
I
and
loved
that's not
it.
Quite your origin
and I realized
story.
he lied to me, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And I realized that's what I want to do to you.
But but give us three. He lied to me. He tricked me. He pulled the wool over my. We love rule of three. So give us three things give us three bad things that he did.
He promised to tell me how it was done.
Yeah, he let me down.
He lied to me.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Yeah. He broke his promise.
He broke his promise. He promised me to tell me it was done.
Yeah.
He broke that promise.
He lied to me.
I
think it's like he broke his promise to tell me how it was done. He lied to me. He tricked me, and I loved it. Don't say it was awesome, because I loved it. It makes it personal now. And then it was like, and I loved it, and I thought, I need to do that to other people.
And yes, it's got to be three deceitful things where you would say, oh, he felt let down and he hated it.
Yeah.
But at the end, you realize.
Yeah, he broke his promise. He let me down. He lied to me, and I loved it.
He lied to my face.
And I loved it.
And I loved it.
And then it's like, and I thought, I got to do that to other people. Or maybe it's like, and I thought, that's what I want to do with my life, or something.
Yeah.
Because now you're here.
Yeah.
And so then it kind of makes it personal, and it's sort of funny.
I love that. So he pulls out the orange, and I realized the whole time he was lying to me.
No, I don't think it's the whole time. I think it's like he pulls out the orange.
Right.
And he says, anyway, get out of here. I've got to get on with my trick. I wouldn't make him as aggressive as the way you made it the first time. And then I would say, and he shuts the door, and I'm standing on the other side of the door. So give us the visual. Be like, I'm standing on the other side of the door. And I'm thinking, he broke his promise to tell me what was going to happen. He let me down. He broke his promise to tell me how he does it. He lied to me.
He completely fooled me.
He tricked me. But I would keep, like, he lied to me, he tricked me, because those are much stronger.
Lied to me, tricked me.
Yeah, he lied to me, he tricked me, and I loved it. And I thought, I'm going to do this for other people. Or something like that, like, this is what I want to do.
And then the person who says they're a magic virgin, I said, and that's what I want to do for you.
Yeah,
Like,
I wouldn't say I want to, I'd be like, that's what I'm going to do.
That's
like,
what I'm going to do for you.
Be like, and I thought, I want to do this for other people. And I'm going to do that for you. So stay in the story, because I would say, rather than, and that's what I'm going to be like, so make the first half of that sentence, you're still in the story, but then leap out into the audience.
Yes. So I said, how do you feel in the bag? There's a bag full of eggs. How does she feel? Nothing. And he goes, and he just started laughing. And as he started laughing, he screwed up the bag. He ripped it open, and the eggs were gone. And there was just an orange, and he took a bite out of it. And he just started laughing at me. And
Except that doesn't work, because you can't take a bite out of an orange.
Yeah. I know.
An apple.
But I can't really do an apple for reasons.
But also less is more. Like,
right. Okay. So he screws up. He pulls out an orange and just starts laughing at me.
No. How about this? How about he pulls out an orange and goes, "Get out of my dressing room." And then, as I'm standing on the other side of the closed door, I'm thinking, he broke his promise. He lied to me. He tricked me. And I loved it. And I thought, I want to do that for other people. And I'm going to do that for you today. Let's go.
Yeah, boom. I like that. I like that. Okay, so
like some
the reason I like that is because we go beyond the trick.
Yes.
So we go beyond that final moment of the trick being the climax of the piece. It happens, but there's like, do you remember there was a TV series called Streets of San Francisco, and they would with very young Michael Douglas. And at the end of every episode, it was a procedural. There would always be this thing that said, epilogue. His voice would come in and go, epilogue. And then it would be just the wind down. It'd be back at the station ribbing each other after the thing. Boston Legal did the same thing with William Shatner, where there would always be James Spader and William Shatner be smoking a cigar, talking about shooting the breeze after a case. It's that moment of, this has happened here. He pulls out the orange. He's like, get out.
Get out. That's it. He should just say, get out.
He just screws up the bag, pulls out the orange and goes, get out. And there I was on the other side of the door. And I thought, he lied to me. No, he
broke his promise.
He promised to tell me how it was done. He broke his promise. And he tricked me. And I fucking loved it.
So there's going to be a laugh there, right? Because we all think that you're about to crumble and cry.
Yeah.
Because we think you're little boy Steve right now.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be this.
And I will play that with that kind of like,
yeah.
He lied to me. He broke his promise. He lied to me.
He tricked
me.
He
tricked me. And I fucking loved it.
Yes! Yeah, and that's all your acting skills as well.
That's why I'm here tonight.
Yes. But I really love there's two options, right? One of them is and that's why I'm here tonight. Or to be like, and I fucking loved it. And I thought, I want to do that for other people. And I'm going to do that for you tonight. That's the other option, is to stay in the story, because then it's a pattern arrest, right? Because we think that we're just watching 15-year-old Steve, but suddenly we're watching now Steve.
What if, when I say, it's a larger audience especially, so I come at how many magic virgins do we have here? You're always amazed how many people are seeing magic for the first time, right? Whether they're there or not.
Yeah.
And let's say I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and at the very end of it, and I was a magic virgin, and he lied to me. What was it? He broke his promise. He lied to me.
He tricked me.
And I fucking loved it. And that's when I realized that's what I want to do. And I realized at that moment, that's what I want to do for you and you and you and you.
Love it.
And
love it.
all
love
of
it,
you.
Love it. Love it.
So
Love
we'll
it.
bring together all the virgins. And okay.
So let's just quickly
Great.
deconstruct what we did there. Number one, in both stories, we set up the emotion at the beginning. What are the stakes?
Yes.
Essentially, how did you feel?
Right.
And then in that we had the action scene.
We set up the character of being, we're doing a journey of the character. So we set me up as a personality of being a pain in the ass and the kid who knows everything. And we all know that, we'll relate to that.
Yes.
Right.
Then we also have your emotions, so we have some stakes.
Yes.
Then we have his whole thing and he's doing the tricks. But there's also some tension, because the tension is Steve going to find out? Is he going to find out? Is Steve going to figure it out? Because he's a smart ass kid that figures things out. And then when he pulls out the orange and says, get out. And then there's a bit of tension, because it's he was just mean to me. We are you in the moment. We're oh, the man was just mean to me. And then you're standing on the other side. And then you go sad. And we're oh shit, is this a weird sob story? Are we all in Steve's therapy session right now? And then we get to, I fucking loved it. And it's the release of that. And then you bring it back to the thing that we were just talking about 2 seconds ago. And we're
the
oh
magic,
my God.
you and you magic virgins. And now we have a piece.
And now we have
a
piece.
With the beginning, middle, and end. And that whole idea of foreshadowing, foreshadowing something at the beginning. They do that in movies all the time, right? They'll mention something that then becomes a plot point at the end and just gives the illusion that it's all connected, even if it's just slightly.
And by the way, one of the easiest ways to leave breadcrumbs in a story is mention something that will come up later, but pretend it's doing a different job. Pretend it's supporting a different point. So say you're going to have a climax in your story of somebody who is allergic to roses.
Yes.
And it's really bad that they're allergic because, they're the boss and you're about to get fired or whatever. Early on in the story, somewhere be I knew I had to, make the house beautiful, and so I cleaned the floor, I got some flowers from outside, I blah, blah, blah. You see what I mean? Make it supporting some different, give it another job early on.
Yeah.
So we just think it's doing that job. And then when we say, oh, the doorbell rang and it was my boss, and I thought, oh my God, the real chance to impress him now, and I lead him into the room, half the room are going to be the flowers, he's going to be allergic to the flowers. flowers. You know, we've somewhere seeded that the boss is allergic.
Yes.
And then for those of us who get it, we feel so good. Oh my God, I figured it out before everyone else because I'm so smart. And for people who don't, it's like, oh, the flowers. You know, I think it makes us feel so good when we have that thing. As a mentalist, Darren Brown, I think is so good.
It's one of my biggest inspirations.
He's amazing. His book Tricks of the Mind also is incredible. And one of the things he's really good at is like leaving breadcrumbs, then later on being like, remember those breadcrumbs? And you're like, oh yeah. But then you walk out of the theatre and you're like, hang on a second, that doesn't explain half the things. Because he's like, oh, I'll tell you how I did it. And he points these things out. And then you're like, wait, that doesn't work.
Not really.
But so, whenever you can leave breadcrumbs that don't look like breadcrumbs, they look like they're doing some different job.
Okay.
They're making some other point. They're supporting some other point. And then you bring them back in. Oh, God, it makes people feel so good.
Yeah.
Because whenever you can make your audience feel smart, that's the biggest gift you can give them.
Yeah. I love it. This is fantastic. Thank you. What a great opportunity to just put what you know into practical use. And so, all right, I hope that you guys, is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
There's one more thing. The more we know about something, the more we like it. There's been like 1 million studies on that. I once listened to a podcast interview, this lady, Melissa Casera, who was like a PR lady, and she had a client who was a jeweler, and she said, I want you to write down a story about the inspiration behind every piece of jewelry. And the client was like, the inspiration was, I saw a bird in my garden. She was like, just do it. She did it, 50% sales increase, almost overnight. Okay. There's quite a famous experiment where they take pieces of literal garbage and put them on eBay, but they get some really good writers to write a story, and they sell like a broken nail for like, $300 because it's got some great story behind it. And so sometimes you can just use storytelling to talk about a routine or talk about a prop, and it doesn't have to be some amazing kind of incredible story. You can just say something. It's like that story we made up about the person going into the shop in China. Just tell some story about it. We will then have an emotional connection to that prop or to that routine. It will make us like it more. It will make us like you more. It means any other time we see someone else doing that proper routine, we're not thinking about them. We're thinking about you.
Got it. Okay. And that's so good because there are a lot of kind of non sequitur strange objects that magicians use, and so any kind of like emotional story that can make an excuse for it and get you connected
and
to
it doesn't have to be an origin story. You can say, I was in my kitchen the other day and my kettle was broken, the little thing wouldn't stay down, and I was like, oh, what is exactly the right size? And it was this, and then it's the prop that you're using.
Or this weird thing. You see this? This is my kid's science project.
Yeah.
Right. And
like,
now
you've got
pick
a thing, exactly, make a connection, and then people will think about that every time, and they'll think about you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, such a pleasure.
This is so great. I hope everyone here, I just keep replaying it because it's good for the ratings, and also because literally there's so much in there. My brain is like going bish, 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 bish. How can people get in contact with you or find you?
So I'm going to make you a secret webpage. First of all, I'm on social media in most places as Yes, Yes, Marsha, just spelled like it sounds, M-A-R-S-H-A.
Where did that come from? Why Yes, Yes, Marsha?
It's
better than no.
This.
You do.
It's because my last name's hard to spell and pronounce. HelloMarsha.com was taken. Hi Marsha, all in one, like in a URL, looks like him, arse. And then I'm a very positive person. I have the word yes tattooed on my finger. But Yes Marsha was, at the time I was on Twitter, and Yes Marsha was taken by somebody in a tribute to their dead friend. So I felt like I couldn't ask for it. Oh. So I did Yes, Yes Marsha. It has served me so well. I have a little hand symbol I stole from the village people. People walk up to me at conferences and go, Yes, Yes Marsha, doing the hand symbol.
Amazing.
When I first told my friend Chris Graham, the one who has the story about reading to his mother, he said, it sounds like someone's having sex with you. And I went, yeah, but it sounds like they're having a really good time. So I'm okay with that.
Well, it actually says a lot about, it's like a Rorschach test, like a verbal Rorschach test, right? Because it says a lot about where a person goes with that. For me, it could also, you saying that could also be, yes, at that moment when you're coaching someone and it clicks and it falls into place and they go, yes, that's Marsha. It, Marsha, yes, I've got it. So depending on how horny a person is at any given time, your business name can take on a myriad of different ideas. But this is awesome.
Yes, Marsha. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, kind of. And I've made a secret webpage where I'll put links to all the people that I talked about, Sage Turtle, Scott Hamill, Gillian. I'll put that Gillian Welsh story.
Yes.
And also I'll put some resources up there. I'll put like a storytelling checklist that I have on there. I'll put, I made a video where I talked about those different action scenes where I reenact the Rocky training montage, and also the classic scene from The Graduate, wherein I play both Dustin Hoffman and Anne Bancroft.
In the church or on the bus at the end?
At the beginning, when he's saying, "You're trying to seduce me, aren't you?" That one.
Oh, Anne Bancroft. Sorry, yes.
When I run workshops, I get people to dress up and reenact all of these scenes in wigs and things, and and so I will make a secret webpage, which I hope you'll link to as well in the show notes.
Yes, this will be in the show notes.
yesyesmarsha.com/magicians only.
And I will have that underneath on a little thing, but yesyesmarsha/
yesyesmarsha.com/magicians only.
Magicians only.
All one word.
Yeah. And it's for anyone. You don't have to be a magician. We talked about that before. But can everybody now please say thank you, Marsha? Or better still, did you have a good time? Everyone say yes, yes, Marsha. That was amazing. Thank you so much, Marsha. And guys, if you want to learn more about what she was talking about, check out some of the links and some of the gifts that she's giving you. Please check the link down here somewhere. I just realized I'm pointing to my crutch. I'm not pointing to my crutch. I'm pointing to the links down below in the show notes, just so that you know, okay? Check out the links and see what Marsha's talking about. It was a great talk, and I want to thank Marsha from my heart for taking the time to go through all of that with us. And what do you think about the patter routine? Not a bad idea. Now, you have to see the trick. The trick is great. The trick goes all the way back to the 1930s and the 1940s. But if you want to see the full routine and if you want to learn how to do that trick, guess where you can find it? Yeah, that's right. Magic on the Go at magiconthego.com. It's part of my egg bag playlist. The egg bag is a classic trick that goes back hundreds of years, but it's a trick that magicians can either do well or really, really, really suck at. And I really, really, really sucked at it. So I decided to go deep, dive into the trick, figure out what was wrong with it as far as I was concerned, a bit of my personality maybe. And also, when what happened was, just like in my cards to pocket stuff, what I discovered was all of these different ways of doing the trick. Tricks with the eggs, tricks with the bags. The egg bag trick, not with eggs, with like glasses of whiskey and all other kinds of stuff. And so I started to compile and film all of these methods from the past, come up with new methods of my own, and put a routine together and put various routines together, part of which was this no egg, no bag idea. The idea of doing it with a paper bag at that point, in the way that I do it was my idea. There have been other paper bag, egg bags before, but the point is, if you want to learn it, and if it sounds intriguing to you, there's only one place where you can see those routines, and that is Magic on the Go at magiconthego.com. Listen, it's less than $25 a month. What are you waiting for? Check it out. Thank you so much for listening. You guys rock. Spread the word. Don't forget, when we say please like, share, and subscribe, it's becoming kind of a phrase that everyone just hears and they don't do anything about. Please like, share, subscribe. I'll love you forever if you do. And then if you don't, I'll love you anyway, because that's the kind of guy I am. So from Steve Valentine on Magicians Only and Magic on the Go, see you later. See you on the inside.